Welcome back to N's NotebookLM. So today we're diving into the work of anthropologist Michael Harner, who really pulled back the curtain on one of humanity's oldest spiritual practices. And what he found? Well, it wasn't a religion in the way we usually think of one. It was something else entirely. A practical, repeatable method for exploring hidden realities and the very depths of our own consciousness. So let's start exactly where he did, with a single, powerful experience that would change absolutely everything. See, to really get what this methodology is all about, Harner says we can't just talk about it from the outside. We have to experience what it reveals. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to join him on his very first ayahuasca journey with the Canibo Indians of the Amazon, an experience that would completely reshape his life and his work forever. You have to picture the scene. It's incredibly tense. The village dogs have all been muzzled. The kids are hushed. And Harner, who at the time was a self-described atheist, is handed a gourd filled with this sacred potion. As he drinks it down, he feels it in his bones, that he is stepping into a total unknown, a place the locals sometimes call the Little Death. At first, nothing. And then, it begins. A sound, like a massive waterfall, starts roaring in his head. Brilliant lines of light start weaving together, forming this incredible celestial canopy above him. But as his vision sharpens, the scene turns terrifying. It's like a supernatural carnival, and presiding over it all is a gigantic, grinning crocodilian head, just gushing a flood of water from its jaws. And the terror just becomes absolute. He's paralyzed, watching as what he can only describe as his soul, this energy essence, floats out of his chest and onto a galley. And this boat is crewed by these strange, bird-headed humanoids. He can feel his body turning to concrete, and he's fighting, trying to just keep his own heart beating, because he is utterly convinced that he is just moments away from death. And then a message comes through, seemingly from the deepest part of his brain. Giant, reptilian creatures are communicating with him. They tell him that they are the true masters of Earth. They created all life on this planet, they explain, just to have a place to hide within its countless forms, and that humanity is just one of their vessels. This, they tell him, is a secret reserved only for the dying. Okay, so how on earth do you even begin to process an experience like that? For Harner, that incredibly raw, terrifying vision wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a whole new framework. He started to realize that shamanism wasn't just a random collection of bizarre beliefs, but a coherent, logical system for navigating these hidden realities, a method that could actually be mapped out. And this is where we get Harner's core definition. He framed shamanism as a totally pragmatic approach. It's a method, right? A person intentionally enters an altered state to do a specific job, to learn something, to get information, or most importantly, to help and heal others. He believed this practical, results-oriented focus is what makes it so powerful, even for us today, the children of the age of science. So the key to this whole thing is mastering two totally distinct states of consciousness. First, you have the ordinary state of consciousness, or OSC. That's right now. That's our normal, everyday reality. But the shaman is an expert in entering what he calls the shamanic state of consciousness, or SSC. This is where they perceive non-ordinary reality. They are, in essence, a master of moving between both realms at will. So, if that's the what and the why of shamanism, the next big question is, how do they actually do it? This next part breaks down the core practical techniques that shamans use all over the world to enter that shamanic state of consciousness and get to work. And you might be surprised to learn that the main tool for this journey often isn't a psychedelic plant at all, but sound. A steady, monotonous drum beat, usually somewhere between 205 and 220 beats per minute, becomes the shaman's vehicle. They call it their horse or their canoe. It literally acts like a carrier wave, transporting their consciousness from our ordinary reality straight into the SSC. And this journey, it turns out, follows a surprisingly universal roadmap. A shaman starts at a familiar entry point into the earth, maybe a cave or a hollow tree. Then they travel through this transitional tunnel. After that, they emerge into the landscapes of what's called the lower world. And once their work is done, they come back the exact same way they came. It's a very structured, repeatable process. And get this isn't just something for people in ancient cultures. Harner discovered that everyday Westerners, people in his workshops, could reliably make the same journey. This quote from a participant really makes that abstract idea of the tunnel feel solid and real. It's not just a daydream, it's a distinct place you can deliberately move through. So, once a shaman is in the lower world, one of their main goals is to find and connect with a really important ally. And this is a core concept you find in shamanic cultures everywhere: the guardian spirit, which is most often known as a power animal. Now, a power animal isn't just some cute symbol or a mascot. From the shamanic point of view, it is a literal source of spiritual power that acts as your protector. It's seen as the very foundation of a person's health, their resilience, and their strength in the world. And this brings up a really fascinating question for our modern lives, doesn't it? From a shamanic perspective, a lot of modern ailments, things like chronic depression, constant fatigue, or even just persistent bad luck, are seen as symptoms of having lost one's power animal. The person is quite literally dispirited, which leaves them open and vulnerable. So on the flip side, getting your power animal back is believed to bring some very real, tangible benefits. A person who's powerful, as they'd say, basically has a kind of spiritual immune system. They feel more energetic, they're more confident, and they're much better at warding off sickness and negative influences. You know, all these different pieces, the journey, the altered states, the power animal, they aren't just for some kind of personal spiritual tourism. They all point toward one central purpose, the thing that has always been at the absolute heart of shamanism: healing. And shamanic healing usually boils down to one of two things. It's pretty simple, actually. It's either about putting something good back in or taking something bad out. The first method, restoring power, is what we've been talking about, retrieving a lost guardian spirit for a patient. The second is called extraction, where the shaman actually removes a harmful energy that has lodged itself in the body and is causing a specific illness. And this really speaks to why this ancient practice is so relevant today. Harner came to see shamanism not just as a way to heal individual people, but as a kind of spiritual ecology. It's a method for rebuilding our communication with the natural world, to stop seeing plants and animals as resources to be used, and to start seeing them as relatives to be respected. And that really leaves us with a final, powerful question to think about. Harner's work seems to suggest that maybe our individual sickness is tied to a much larger sickness: our deep disconnection from nature, from spirit, and from each other. What if the most profound healing journey isn't just about curing the body, but about finally coming back home to the web of life itself? If this topic has captured your interest and you'd like to dive deeper, the book is called The Way of the Shaman by Michael Harner.